Well, the Federal Health Minister seems very confident today that our first deliveries of the Pfizer vaccine will be on time and to specification. But this weekend's intervention by the European Union to direct suppliers of both the Pfizer and AstraZeneca vaccines to selected nations, in particular in Europe, in their neck of the woods, has clouded the process immensely. One of the critics of what the EU has done is the International Chamber of Commerce, which says the decision could erode essential supply chains and prolong the pandemic. The ICC's Secretary-General is Australian John Denton, who's based in Paris. John, thank you very much for your time.
Great to speak to you, Chris. Sorry, the sound's coming in and out a bit. By the way, I was just intrigued to listen to your previous position. One case, in Paris this morning, they've announced 25,000 cases in Europe, which tells you, in France, sorry, which tells you one thing. The biggest political issue in Europe at the moment is vaccines and the distribution of vaccines, which tells you a little about why the EU decided to clumsily intervene in the market last Friday. And you saw the rapid turnaround after they made a huge error in actually including Northern Ireland as an excluded zone. It's just been I suppose, a lesson in rushed thinking, poor planning, a failure to actually really think through the consequences, as we've said. And I think if there's one volte-face, we'll be seeing some more along the way as well, until they actually start thinking about things and actually considering the broader issues about how do you effectively globally manage and ensure that this pandemic does not continue to roll back into your country. One country alone can't fix it. It's actually a matter of solidarity. We're not safe until everyone's safe. That's what we've been saying. That's what they've been saying. So why don't they act in accordance with that?
Very true. The European Union has had plenty of time to get this right. They not only got it wrong, but as you try to explain there, they've blocked off parts of the UK, which under Brexit they cannot do, which is ridiculous. But tell me, on what basis did they select this group of 120 nations, and why do you think they've done this?
Well, there's a couple of things. First of all, maybe put it in perspective. The total number of vaccines that have actually been distributed globally is actually 80 million, but almost the total amount of that has been distributed really between about 4 or 5 countries in the US, the UK, through Europe, in Israel. And actually only 2 million of those has actually gone to middle-income economies, which includes India and Ecuador and countries like that. And only 50, Chris, have gone to least developed countries, and that's gone to Guinea in sub-Saharan Africa, and even that went mainly to officials, and it was actually trying to using the Sputnik vaccine from Russia as a test. Oh. So who knows what they're doing? But what they've been saying is that, and this is partly the fig leaf, that they're doing this to ensure there's global solidarity. They're doing this to ensure that there's a way politically for them to manage the discontent of citizens in Europe as to the way in which the vaccine has been rolled out in Europe. And what they're doing is making an announcement, effectively sacrificing, I think, principle here to intervene in the market, to try and enable the Commission to say we're doing everything possible. All you do with export controls is you do not increase supply, you do not manage demand. All you do is take a limited resource and actually siphon off a little bit that would have been going somewhere else. And as I've just tried to explain, very little was going anywhere else anyway.
Yeah.
So the fundamental problem they're not dealing with, Chris, is supply and demand. This is a complex process. We're all sitting around cheering on the scientists and the pharma companies at Christmas, saying what heroes they are. Now we're saying they're evil again. The fact of the matter is they were able, at a very quick pace, to deliver vaccines which are effective. The bit that has been missing all the way along this has been the international cooperation required to ensure that there's effective and sufficient production to enable the supply.
Yeah.
That's a bit that hasn't been thought through. Yeah. And the distribution has never even been considered properly. So what they actually need to do now is pause, reflect, consult, particularly with the private sector, about how to improve supply and manage demand so that we can get this equation right. Don't forget, this is the biggest logistical challenge the world has faced in living memory. The idea that there's going to be some smoothness all the way through is just ridiculous. They have overpromised, and now they're trying politically to manage it by intervening in the market in this cack-handed way, which I think the episode on Friday with the Northern Irish, and I must say the skillful moves by the UK to write that. And by the way, I should also commend the Australian government and Greg Hunt and Josh and the team for the way in which they've handled this and actually been very sober and considered in the way in which they're responding as well.
Yeah, we're in a better position because we don't need it in the sense of an emergency. We're pretty well placed. But you mentioned the market. I don't get this. It's an anathema to free trade. These are two private drug companies. Am I right?
Oh, look, yeah. I mean, and here's the other thing. Like, to get the amount of investment required to ensure that you have the amount of supply it requires people to have confidence that the framework they're investing in is actually constant and will protect their intellectual property rights. Yes. I mean, and if you think about the amount of money required to invest to ensure that these vaccines are discovered and actually applied, it's huge. But also to actually help on supply, you need more. You actually need more vaccines coming through, and that's what's happening. That's what you've got to do. They're potentially undermining the willingness of the private sector and other to invest in this area because they're actually creating a sea of uncertainty. And also, why would you invest in production plants elsewhere if you're not certain if you're going to be able to live up to the forecasts you have in terms of distribution, etc., because of interventions by government? It's bad policy, badly executed, and badly needs a rethink and a reconsideration.
Well said. I thank you so much for your time, John Denton. It's fascinating to get that view on it, and it is political, but throughout this pandemic, I'm seeing a gradual change from the well-meaning to the political, which is very sad indeed. John, thank you very, very much for your time.
Good to speak to you, Chris. All the best.
Okay, Secretary General of the International Chamber of Commerce, John Denton, an Australian.